on a lazy spring afternoon. The sun hung low over Willow Creek, a gated community where every lawn was manicured to perfection and every mailbox screamed curated wealth. The sprinklers hummed softly, their rhythm blending with the chirps of birds and the rustle of sycamore leaves. A plain gray SUV rolled up to the wrought iron gates, its engine quiet, unassuming. Behind the wheel sat James Carter, a man in his late 30s, dressed in a simple navy button-down, worn jeans, and a faded cap that shaded his steady, thoughtful eyes. James wasn't here to stir trouble. He was just a guy who'd seen a house listing online, a place on Maple Lane that caught his eye. A buddy had raved about Willow Creek, peaceful, pristine, maybe a smart investment. James had money, more than most in this polished enclave could dream of, but he didn't flaunt it. He liked things simple. So, on a whim between meetings, he drove across town to check it out. He didn't call ahead, didn't bring a real estate agent. All he wanted was to walk the block, get a feel for the place, maybe jot down a few notes. But Willow Creek wasn't your average neighborhood, and James, it turned out, wasn't just any VY cider to them. As he reached for his phone to double-check the address, a figure approached from the security booth. Broad-shouldered, maybe 50, with cropped gray hair and mirrored sunglasses that screamed authority, the man strode toward the SUV with purpose. His khaki uniform, embroidered with Willow Creek security, clung to him like a second skin. This was Tom Harris, head guard, and he didn't just enforce rules, she embodied them. He tapped the window once, sharply. James lowered it halfway, offering a polite nod. "Hey, can I help you?" he asked, voice calm. "You lost." Tom shot back, not curious but accusing, his tone slicing through the warm air. "This is a private community." James gave a faint smile. "Not lost. I saw a listing on Maple Lane, got the address right here. Just wanted to take a quick look before setting up a showing." Tom didn't budge. "You got an appointment?" James shook his head. "Not yet, but I spoke to Tom, cut him off." "Then you need to leave. This ain't a place where people just roll in and poke around." James blinked, keeping his cool. "I didn't mean to break any rules. I thought the listing was public." Tom's arms crossed, his stance widening. "It might be public, but this isn't. You don't get to stroll in here." James glanced at the gate, then back. "Can I call the agent? Have him talk to you?" Tom's voice hardened. "I don't care who you call. Turn around. Now." The shift was palpable, from procedure to prejudice. It wasn't about rules, Anna Maria, it was about how Tom saw James. An outsider, a misfit, someone who didn't belong. Behind those mirrored lenses, his eyes judged before they questioned. James felt a knot in his chest. Not fear, but a heavy disappointment he hadn't felt in years. He was used to boardrooms, closing deals with executives, MOVYing millions with a single call. Yet here, in this suburban fortress, he was reduced to a glance, measured by his jeans and cap, and found wanting. Still, he didn't snap. He nodded, jaw tight, and rolled up the window. As he backed away, Tom and another guard stood like sentinels, watching him go. They didn't know who he was. They didn't ask. They didn't care. But James cared. Every word, every smirk, every assumption burned into him. As the gates shrank in his rear, VYEW, something shifted, not rage, but resolve. Because what they didn't know was that the man they just dismissed could buy everything they guarded. And maybe, just maybe, he would. 3 days later, Tom was back to his routine, patrolling the gates with his usual swagger, sipping coffee from a dented thermos. The incident with the guy in the SUV was already a blip, just another outsider scent packing. But on the fourth morning, as he logged into the HOA system, a notification blinked on the screen, saw notice of lien acquisition. Horizon Capital Group now holds financial interest in parcels 204, 207, 210. Saw Tom frowned. He clicked the link, revealing a cold, legal document from a regional bank. A private firm, Horizon Capital, had bought up overdue loans on several Willow Creek properties. The name meant nothing to him, the logo sleek and unfamiliar. He shrugged it off as a glitch. Willow Creek was untouchable, built on rules and reputation. But then more notices came, quiet and relentless. Property after property, some vacant, Others tangled in legal knots fell to Horizon through moves too slick for the HOA to track. The board scrambled, emails flying, lawyers on speed dial. No one knew who Horizon was or what they wanted. Then came the bombshell. For weeks after that Friday, a county notice arrived. The HOA's office, its parking lot, and key utilities were now owned by a Horizon shell company. The gates of Willow Creek, once ironclad, felt flimsy. The board called an emergency meeting in their glass-walled conference room, poring over maps and deeds, desperate for a loophole. That's when the door opened. No knock, no announcement, just a man stepping in, calm as a storm's eye. James Carter, but not the James from the SUV. This James wore a tailored charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, his polished shoes clicking on the hardwood. In his hand, a thick folder of documents. He scanned the room, his gaze brushing each face. Some board members squirmed. The treasurer, Mrs. Ellis, squinted, recognition dawning. Tom, by the window, felt his throat tighten. James smiled, polite but razor-sharp. "Good afternoon," he said, placing the folder on the table. "I believe you've seen my firm's notices. I'm here to introduce myself as your primary lien holder and majority land rights holder in Willow Creek." The room froze. He didn't shout, didn't gloat. Every word was deliberate, every pause a blade. For weeks, Horizon Capital has targeted undervalued parcels and weak loans here. Many, unfortunately, are in your community. A board member tried to speak, but James raised a hand, steady, not silencing. "I'm not here to tear down what you've built. I'm here because I was in VY TED in a way you wouldn't understand." His eyes locked on Tom, unblinking. The smile held, but behind it was memory, the sting of that day at the gate, the shove, the smirks. Not vengeance, just clarity. The documents he spread out were brutal in their precision. Deeds, contracts, notarized facts. "I'm your primary creditor now," he said, voice almost gentle. "I control the roads, the lights, your parking lot, most of what keeps this place running." No one moved. Tom's jaw clenched, his hands twitching. James let the silence linger, then spoke again. "I didn't come looking for a fight. I came for a home. A month ago, I pulled up to your gate to see a house. I followed every rule I knew, asked for nothing special, and I was made to feel like less than nothing." He paused, hands folded. "That reminded me what it's like to be dismissed, not for who you are, but for what someone assumes you are. I'm not here to humiliate you. I'm here to make a point." The point landed like a grenade. Willow Creek had thrived on unwritten rules, enforced by locked gates and smug smiles. Now, those rules were crumbling, not through chaos, but through James's quiet, surgical strategy. He wasn't just a VY, Sida Enamore was the owner. The board's resistance was fierce but futile. They hired lawyers, dug through zoning laws, circulated petitions decrying a corporate takeover. But James's moves were airtight, backed by a Texas legal firm that dismantled giants. Within weeks, he called a shareholder meeting, leveraging his majority stake to propose one motion: restructure the HOA board. The old guard trembled. Change came fast. The Iron Gates got a new plaque, saw under management, Horizon Capital Group. Saw the security team. Tom's team was replaced by professionals trained in courtesy, not control. Residents noticed. One guard knew a kid's name at the bus stop. Another helped an elderly man with groceries. Brochures landed in mailboxes, promising free Wi-Fi, better security, and lower HOA fees. The exclusive Willow Club, once a shrine to elitism, became the Willow Learning Center, its chandelier now lighting a library and teen mentorship programs. Buses brought kids from across the city, kids who'd never dreamed of stepping foot here. Some residents balked, whispering about standards, but others, young families, new homeowners, saw possibility. They came to James's meetings, asked questions, and listened. He didn't talk like a conqueror. He talked like someone who'd been pushed out and remembered the sting. Tom's fall was quiet but final. One morning, an envelope waited in his mailbox, his name in clean type. Inside, a letter. His security contract was terminated, effective immediately. At the bottom, a note. "Saw if you'd like to speak. I'm available." James saw Tom paced, stewed, then drove to the renovated clubhouse. James was there, sleeves rolled, no suit, just a man who'd already won. He stood as Tom entered, offering a chair. Tom sat, tense. James spoke first, voice low. "I'm not angry, Tom. I'm grateful. You reminded me what it's like to be in VY Cybele, to be judged before you're known. I'd forgotten that. It's why I started Thisto Build Something Better." Tom looked away, jaw tight. Outside, a couple waved. James waved back. "You did your job the way you knew it," he said. "But sometimes the way things are done is why they need to change." Tom had no reply. He stood, nodded, and left. Not defeated, but diminished, not by James, but by his own choices. A year later, Willow Creek breathed differently. The gates stood open by day, no longer walls, but doorways. James walked Maple Lane again. Same jeans, same cap, but now kids waved, neighbors grinned. A young couple, Nate and Lila, lottery winners who'd moved in months ago, called out, "James!" Barbecue later come by. He chuckled, nodding. Everywhere, life bloomed. Kids on bikes, retirees mentoring at the center, families from all walks blending seamlessly. The whispers of fear had faded, replaced by respect, earned, not demanded. James paused under an oak tree, the spot where he'd once been sent away. The memory lingered, but it didn't hurt. It had been rewritten, transformed. He wasn't just a neighbor now. He was home. James could have crushed Willow Creek, turned his pain into their punishment. He didn't. He built instead, opened doors, and proved power with purpose changes more than revenge ever could. His story spread, not for the fight he won, but for the one he didn't fight. It's not about how others see you, it's about who you choose to be. When someone pushes you out, don't get mad. Get purposeful. So what do you think? Was James right to take over Willow Creek? Or did he go too far, wielding wealth like a weapon? Should Tom have been fired, or did he deserve a second chance to change? Can a community truly shift from exclusion to inclusion, or will old prejudices always creep back? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if this story got you thinking, and subscribe for more tales that challenge the status quo. Let's get this debate rolling.